Nah, you'll never complete that no-leveling run on me.
Well, this is still going on. More pain and suffering is about to follow. This is probably the real meat of the run you've been waiting for. As always, hit me up in the comments section if you enjoy this video and smash that subscribe button for more of this kind of content. Now, before we move on to Dranglake Castle, there's a couple things we need to clean up. First, let's head back to the Lost Bastille and go smash up Happy and Dopey here. Now it's time for one of the single laziest bosses ever, the Belfry Gargoyles. A straight rip from Dark Souls 1, but with more gargoyles because it's Dark Souls 2. I didn't want to do this earlier because if you can't do enough damage, you're just going to get gangbanged. But with our current setup, we make it through, it's not too bad. Next up is the Royal Rat Vanguard. I actually nearly died to this, how embarrassing. Bit of a waste of time, but might as well do it for completionist's sake, right? Okay, so with that nonsense out of the way... Oh wait, no, there's more nonsense here. Look at this guy. Anyway, check this. I always thought this was a bit weird. I walked through this tunnel for 5 seconds. It's daytime before I enter, and suddenly it's raining in nighttime. This looks cool, yeah, but it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Oh, I died at the bonfire door. I stopped back... right here? Right, okay. Finally made it here. Now to grab some items and... ah, good. Just to remind me of what's coming. Thanks, Dark Souls 2.
Run, Forrest, run!
I never saw the point of this room. I open up the chests and these masked shoot out arrows that all completely miss me. Why bother? What's even the point of this? I meant to state this in part 1. An understated cheeky thing Dark Souls 2 did is make it so you need to press X to get into hidden passages instead of hitting them, like in Dark Souls 1. Why make this change? I bet nobody ever found this door without looking it up. Why would you even think to randomly press X against walls when the previous game had a totally different method of finding them? Is there anywhere in Dark Souls 2 that it tells you should do this? Please hit me up in the comments below if there is. I'm sorry if I missed it, but genuinely I've never seen anything to suggest that you should do this within the game. Oh, come on! Look at that hitbox. Won't be the last of this kind of crap you'll see in this video. We managed to get them this time, stupid reskin waste of time gank boss. Is it just me, or did they get really lazy with the enemies here? After the Dragon Riders, a reskin, you randomly have an Executioner's Chariot Horse, a single Alonne Knight, a Gargoyle, some Pyromancers, and Hyde Knights, all of which we've seen in different areas of the game before. So exciting and original. Okay, I know this chest is a mimic, so let's attack him from behind. Wow. Sometimes you just have to laugh at how broken some of the stuff in this game is. That has to be one of the most illogical hitboxes I've ever seen. Don't know what you're up to here, mate. Chained up, squirming around near the key to the King's Passage. 50 Shades of Dark Souls 2, anyone? Anyway, we head into the King's Passage. Gross. And we actually fight a really cool boss in Looking Glass Knight. The atmosphere is great, fighting him out in the rain here. I didn't have too much trouble, but I kind of got lucky because he didn't start trying to summon until he was pretty low on health, and I actually killed him during the summon animation. Not too shabby. Now you can just imagine the huge smile on my face upon seeing this next area, one of the most infamous parts of the base game of Dark Souls 2. Well, let's start by messing this guy up. Wait, he walked away? The fool killed me, but he was fine even after taking those hits? What the hell kind of health is that? Now, there's no doubt about it, this area is absolutely awful. The mages overrun this area and spam projectiles at you which seem to follow you forever. I can even be hit by them during a backstab animation. On top of that, there's another recycled Hyde Knight enemy right at the start, and of course there's deep water to slow your movement. Fantastic. Oh, and look, another Dragon Rider. Why do they love these guys so much? Somebody made this and thought, yep, this is just the most perfect enemy. We need to stack this around the game as much as bloody possible. In the end, I had to spend the time clearing out these guys, which was very boring. I hear people saying Dark Souls 2 is a clever thinking man's game, but luring enemies one at a time and tediously strafing them till you deplete their overly large health bar is far from fun, rewarding, or smart. This end section before the next bonfire, I honestly think is not possible to run through at all, so gotta clear out these guys also. Fighting the staff guys here is a nightmare with the mages firing stuff at you. The only way I could get through this was to lure the guy all the way back to this house and kill him inside there. What an absolute drag. So now that the mage next to him is gone, we still have 2 more staff guys and another 2 mages here. So again, I lure the staff guys all the way back to the house, as it's the only place I can guarantee a fight without the mages or accidentally going into deep water. Okay, that's one of them down. But where's the other? Oh wow, he ran all the way around the other side. Die! So I went back to sort out those mages. I was absolutely bricking it in case I accidentally died here and had to do all of this again. Weirdly, this mage here actually doesn't have a staff and didn't seem to attack me, but he did drop a Twinkling Titanite. Very random. So we finally get to the fog gate and the next bonfire. That was awful, but was still probably less bad than Iron Keep, I think. But then again, I'd still rather wash my face with a cheese grater than do that again. They also then helpfully decided to put this giant bug in the way which you cannot get past without killing. Time to use all those firebombs I bought earlier. After another pretty unpleasant dash through some mages, this time even featuring an NPC invader, we take on the Demon of Song. At least this guy is mega easy, otherwise this run back would be pretty hellish.
You don't know what it's like to be me out here for you.
So happy to be out of Shrine of Amana. I'm so sick of running through awkward areas with mages spamming magic at me. Let's move into this awkward area with mages spamming magic at me. Why? Come on! Well, now are we actually going to get a good boss fight? I remember the encounter with Velstadt being pretty cool from my memory of it. That hitbox though. Yeesh. Well, apart from that, it was actually a decent boss and we take him down. A great moment follows where you see a broken Vendrick just wandering around the room in his underwear. We'll come back for this guy a bit later. I love the build up though, with everybody in the game talking about how you need to seek him out, and then you find him here just wandering around completely dead and drained of all life. Very Dark Souls indeed. Time to grab a quick upgrade for our trusty mace, bringing it up to +10, and we also infuse it to be raw. We can now head into Audia's Keep, but we first encounter this annoying late game system. You have these King's Ring doors for which you need to equip the King's Ring and wait for it to open really slowly. We won't be seeing the last of this, unfortunately. Didn't this skeleton dragon here used to jump at you in the original Dark Souls 2? I didn't imagine this, right? So, a very important thing that I learned from this run. My wife thinks these hippos are really cute. And now you guys know this also. Don't you feel enriched for having this knowledge? I especially love it when these guys leap through walls at you not once but twice in a row. Fantastic. This guardian dragon is such a joke. I killed it without taking a hit, but at least I actually got a unique animation for killing it because I did the final hit while it was taking off. So now we get to this really cool looking area, but of course the Scholar of the First Sin edition has to ruin my enjoyment by sticking a completely unnecessary statue in the way, and guess what? I don't have a fragrant branch of yore. Amazing. It's so stupid because it easily looks like there's enough space for me to squeeze past. I mission off to get one, and then get through the Dragon Shrine to, of course, be met with...
You are making a big mistake, Stewie. Nobody walks away from Tiny Tom Cruise.
Now, I'm actually going to offer a correction to my worst boss run back video. I hadn't played Scholar of the First Sin all that much when I made the video, and actually, it does make this boss run back a lot better. I didn't realise that killing the Dragon Knight at the top here stopped the aggro from all the other Dragon Knights. I thought it was just the ones that were on the stairs that wouldn't attack you anymore. It's still an annoying run back time-wise with the doors and stuff, but it's probably not so bad that it deserved a number 2 spot. However, if we're talking about the original Dark Souls 2 version of this, I think it definitely deserves that spot, as all big armor guys on the stairs was absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, onto a well-known terrible boss, the Ancient Dragon. This guy has way too much health for this game, and the fight is super boring. You can be hacking away for ages only to unluckily get caught by his aerial fire and die. Many people said that if you stay in front of his back toes, he only ever does the stomp. Well, that didn't always work for me. But eventually, I seemed to get lucky, and this boring boss is down. So let's snap up at the remainder of the Giant Souls now. I actually love these memory sections. I think it's one of the first times in the series you get to see enemies fighting each other instead of just you. Something that would notably be used in a lot of the later games, including Elden Ring. Giant Lord, however, is a total pushover, with a boring moveset and again way too much health for such a dry fight. Although not as bad as the Ancient Dragon, it's still pretty boring. With the 5 souls of the Giants, we can finally take on Vendrick, and after one death from a bad hitbox, it's another boring fight against a slow enemy with a limited moveset and too much health. Why did they think the game needed so many of these? Remember those doors that take ages to open? Well, this is the absolute worst of them. The area beyond this has 3 bosses you have to fight, and every single time you have to put the ring on and off, wait for the door to open and run all the way down. This is great for atmosphere the first time you do it, but having to do this every single time you die and run back to the boss is unbelievably unnecessary and tedious. The first of the 3 bosses is a duel fight with 2 armoured enemies, and of course I die here. Wait, hold on, the door's opening without the king's ring being on? Did they update it so you only need to have the ring on once? But this doesn't help the situation at all. You still have to wait for the door to open, which was ample time to switch the rings, so this really doesn't save any effort or time. This dual boss of Throne Watcher and Throne Defender is pretty annoying. You need to run away a lot, and the arena has parts you can fall off, which doesn't help at all. I decided to go with a really unusual method for these guys and use a light crossbow. This actually worked really well. Once the white one is dead, the other guy's terrible AI makes bringing him down a piece of cake, as long as you kill him before he revives the white one. Nashanda now enters, and due to some curse she kills me, so we're back to waiting for this door again. Second try, she goes down. Most of her attacks are pretty predictable and easy to avoid. Not a great boss, but luckily I'll forget about her immediately as we face an even worse boss. I thought the crossbow would be great for Audia, but turns out that the fire shield negates a lot of damage, so long range is no good. Guess it'll have to be melee, but you know what's first? Waiting for this door again! Derp, 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 derp! I found this guy so annoying. I got close a couple times, only to be hit because he spammed some of his attacks together. I got him at last, but what a pain this was. Not difficult, but really just very annoying. If fighting 3 rubbish bosses in a row wasn't tedious enough, we now get hit by the unskippable Dark Souls 2 credits. Why is this the only game that has this? The base game is down, and we can finally move on to the DLC, but there's just one problem. I don't want to. However, I will say this. These are the best looking areas in the game. The opening into the Sunken City and Sin the Dragon flying down here are awesome moments. But I'd probably argue that this is my least favourite of these DLCs. I do like the traps and switches mechanics, but why do all the bonfires have to be hidden in such cryptic places? There's one here you can only get to by shooting this switch, which is very easy to miss. Also, what if you didn't have bows and arrows? How would you even hit it? What about this one? It's just a random piece of wall that you have to press X in front of. How the hell would you ever figure this out? Well, finally we get to the first boss of the DLC, Alonne the Squalid Queen. This boss fight can vary in difficulty so much depending on what she summons. If she summons Velstadt, well, I might as well quit out of the fight because it just becomes insane. Even if she summons the skeletons, they move very fast and they distract you enough for her to kill you with magic, or they can even kill you with parries themselves. I died quite a bit here. Okay, next try, come on. She's bringing out the skeleton. Oh my god! She summoned the pigs! I forgot this could happen. Oh my god! Thanks to that, I killed her on that attempt. I'm not a big fan of this boss. I really don't like when something can vary so much in difficulty just due to basically random chance. Sin the Slumbering Dragon is next. This probably won't be so bad. Right? Right? The bad hitboxes are back here and in full force. The charging head swipe has some terrible range, and to make matters worse, he spends a lot of time in the air. His dive attacks can also have some really terrible hitboxes. How the hell did he damage me here? How? I figured out that his back legs are a good safe spot, but of course, he has a fire breath move that he starts doing in between his legs during the latter half of the fight, which can be pretty difficult to see when you're in between his legs. I want to share with you the full last minute and a half of the fight, where I beat him. His dive attack somehow caught me with his tail here, and I survived with a minuscule amount of health. He then shot off his fire breath, which I somehow managed to outpace. He also launched up in the air then to do his carpet bomb fire attack, which again had always killed me beforehand, but somehow I also outpaced this. He landed and went for the head swipe charge, but I dodged it. And he went for it again, but I somehow got around him here also. I go between the legs for some hits, and somehow, some way, I saw the between the legs fire attack coming. I managed to dodge at literally the very last moment. My heart is absolutely pounding at this point. I dodged his turn attack and managed to bring him to 1 hit remaining, but I did take damage from his tailspin there. I dodge and jump by mistake because I'm holding the controller too tightly. I was swinging here, desperate for that last shot to hit him. Charging head swipe comes again, and I manage to dodge, run through, and land the finishing blow to finally bring this to a close. This actually made me anxious again just watching it back. I can't believe all that came together. The first DLC crown is ours. I'd love to say that we now get to leave this area, but you all know there's one more boss here, the Gank Squad, one of my least favourite bosses in the series. It's not necessarily difficult as much as it's just really tedious. These guys can damage me hard on this run, so after taking out the archer I decided to play it super safe with the crossbow running gun. It takes a long time but it gets the job done. Good riddance to this place. Also, side note, but I've totally run out of effigies at this point, and I'm having to use the Shrine of Amana every few deaths. Why did they put this respawning pyromancer right in front of it? Isn't the 2 loading screens I need to go through to get there and back enough? So, DLC number 2, Iron King is up next. The views here are again amazing, it really all looks awesome. Also, look at this idiot walking into the fire here. He just killed himself. Oh. I want to like this DLC more than I do, but it suffers from the same usual Dark Souls 2 approach of just spamming a bunch of enemies in a room. This room here has a lever in it that I need to pull, but it also has a whole load of enemies in what is quite a small space. Pulling the lever is difficult because they removed iframes from the first part of the animation here. Trying to kill all these enemies is just not possible for me realistically here, so luring them away and managing to just about pull the lever seems to work. But of course, the door opens very slowly. Come on, come on, ah! I've made it to the Iron Passage, but I'm actually going to do a bit of a braking sequence here and head to the DLC number 3, Ilium Lois first. The reason for this is the final 6 bosses are going to be very tough, so I want to make sure I'm as prepared as possible, and Ilium Lois has a couple of very useful items that will make things easier. We get the usual stuff like enemies right by a door, spears having seizures in the wall, spells going through walls, and then I finally make it to the next bonfire, allowing me to grab the first item we need, the Ring of the Embedded. This increases health, stamina and equip load in exchange for me taking about 8% extra damage, but the additional health more than makes up for this damage increase. For our next item, we unfortunately have to beat Arva, the king's pet, and this cat might be in the running for some of the worst hitboxes in the entire game. The bite attack and also his swipes seem to hit you from all sorts of bizarre angles, where it seems like they completely missed you. I actually went and grabbed the Simpleton's Ring, which increases adaptability by 5, thus making my dodging better, and still I seem to get hit by these awful hitboxes, especially the grab attack. At least this cat has some great dance moves. This was pretty painful, but finally I managed to bring him down. This was probably the worst so far in terms of some of those deaths just feeling flat out unfair. At least the reward is good, the Vessel Shield. You might look at the stats here for this initially and think that we have nowhere near the requirements to wield it, and you're totally right, but the stat boost that we gain from this shield we still get by holding it on our back even if we don't have the stats to wield it, which is super useful and will be really helpful. So we're jumping around a bit, back to the Iron King DLC now, and we're going to face Fume Knight, generally considered one of the best bosses in the game. The question is, does he have terrible hitboxes like those other bosses? You're damn right he does. Even better, they get worse in the second phase. Awesome! This actually was way easier than Arva, to be honest, in part because I used the technique of baiting his slam to prevent him from going to the second phase at all. If you're wondering what the hell I'm talking about, his AI is programmed to do a slam attack with his large sword if you're close to him and you decide to heal. The slam attack makes his sword glow orange for a period, during which he can't activate his second phase animation. By healing at the right time and then dodging, you can continuously bait out this attack and he will never go into his second phase, making the fight a lot easier. Easy peasy. Once again, jumping back, we're going to Ilium Lois here. Even the White Covetous Demon has some of those classic Dark Souls 2 hitboxes. Good times. So, Ivory King is next, but I'm afraid I have some bad news. My PlayStation 5 crashed just as I completed the fight, so I actually don't have the winning footage. It was pretty gutting, and I didn't have a save to go back to for it. In case you're wondering what I did, I used the large club to pancake the knights in the first phase, and then swapped to my usual gear during the Ivory King's entrance. It took a few tries. The main annoyance honestly was having to do the knight phase every time. The king himself I didn't find too difficult. we have all the crowns now. So I'm actually going to cheat a little bit here on this run, guys. I'm going to allow myself, as a kindness, to use one of these crowns for the last few bosses. Honestly, this is mainly due to the fact that I'm sick to death of having to walk to the Shrine of Amana every few attempts on a boss, and I'm trying to get this video out before my wife gives birth in the next couple weeks. I don't think the armor or stats from the crown will really make that much of a difference given who the last 3 bosses are anyway. These are going to be probably the most difficult of the whole run, so sorry if anyone's slightly disappointed by it, but I really don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. I'll still keep Mr. Derp naked otherwise, of course. Blue Smelter might have been the one I was dreading the most of these last 3. His hitboxes are notoriously terrible, even worse than his base game counterpart. It seems to even rub off on the enemies outside the fog gate. I experimented with poison, but it never felt that effective, even though I had heard that he was vulnerable to it. I ended up finding a weapon which I'd heard a lot about, the homunculus mace, and this turned out to be awesome. I see a lot of people online doing this fight with bright bugs, Elizabeth mushrooms, resins and blueburs, but to be honest, I hate using these kind of consumables for most fights because I end up subconsciously getting greedy while they're active and end up just going for more hits and then dying. So I'm going to keep this simple and just infuse the mace with dark and stick with life gems and Estus only as my items. So I went into this fight with him once again, and something very unexpected happened. I actually started to enjoy this fight. The timing suddenly just clicked, and staying close to him was really helpful in avoiding stuff, and dodging through now felt actually pretty satisfying. I think I'll let the footage here speak for itself. Phew, what a fight. Glad we got through that. At least there isn't another hard boss in this DLC with a horrible boss run back. Well, he's considered the best boss in the game at least, so surely he should be immune from the usual bad hitboxes. Oh, come on! How does almost every boss have such terrible hitboxes? How do you make this mistake so many times in a row within one game? So because I'm apparently a masochist, I decided to try to no-hit run Sir Alonne here, something I've never been able to do before. I just wanted to get that sweet alternate death animation from him. It was pretty painful. I got close several times only to make one mistake at the end. But again, I think it's better if I let the footage speak for itself here. Cue the music! Okay, there's just one thing left, the thing I've been dreading the whole time I've been doing this run. You know it, I know it, we all know it. The Frigid fucking Outskirts. How bad was it? Well... Yep, that took about 20 years off my life. I don't think there's much else to be said. These reindeers suck, their charge attacks are near impossible to avoid, and this area is the worst thing humanity has ever created within a video game. The devs should honestly be ashamed they not only put this out when the DLC first was released, but that no changes were made to improve it when the Scholar of the First Sin edition was released later. Anyway, I finally made it to the gate. Painfully, I actually nearly beat the tigers on my first attempt, but I fell at the last moment. I got there again and decided to take no chances, so this time I popped a bright bug, used some stamina moss, etc, and I'm just going to go to town. The reason I wanted to use it here as opposed to Blue Smelter Demon is that it's so crucial to take out this first tiger as quickly as possible. With him down, the other one is not so bad. These cats have way less health than Ava, so they go down fairly quickly. I managed to quickly smash out the other one. I couldn't even see the health bar there due to this message, and luckily I actually killed him before he did the buff. It's a slap in the face because you don't even get that many souls or anything that's really worthwhile from doing this vile area. But it's done. It's over! I actually completed Dark Souls 2 on a no leveling run. There's only one thing left to do now. Tore its head off. I beat it! And I know just what to do with it now.
Are you for real?
What?
You just checked that.
It's Dark Souls 2.
Go pick that up.
But it's Dark Souls 2.
Go pick that up.
So, what are my thoughts? Well, it somehow wasn't as bad as I thought, but in other ways it was worse than I thought. The parts that weren't as bad were the bosses. Don't get me wrong, there were some atrocious hitboxes from some of them, especially in the DLC, but nothing took me as long to beat as some of the tougher no leveling run bosses I've done, like Millennia, Manus, Ludwig, etc. The stat boosting rings and the shield from the DLC really helped with this also. The worst part was probably just getting through some of these areas like Iron Keep, Shrine of Amana, Frigid Outskirts. All of this was honestly horrible and I never want to do it ever again. Overall, I can't say I'd list Dark Souls 2 as one of my favourite FromSoft games. The combat just never feels that satisfying for me, and there's way too many times where you take damage from something that feels like it totally missed. The hitboxes on most bosses' grab attacks especially are awful, and it ends up detracting from the overall experience on even the few good bosses within this game. On top of that, the approach to enemy placement, especially in the Scholar of the First Sin edition, is just atrocious, and makes several areas feel flat out unfair and frustrating. Overall, I'm glad I finally did this run though. It was a long time coming. Now, I know you might say, well, you didn't do Dark Lurker, and yes, that is true, but the process of farming effigies and all of that, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Maybe sometime in the future, I will come back and do it. Say if we hit a certain subscription of, I don't know, maybe 5,000 subscribers on this channel, I'll go back and I'll farm those FGs and I'll do Dark Lurker. But for now, I want to dedicate my time to other things, and don't worry, there will still be more videos coming. Maybe it won't be quite as long as this video, but you still will be getting something, don't worry. So, I hope you enjoyed this, guys. Let me know your thoughts on the vid, or just on Dark Souls 2 as a whole in the comments below. Smash that subscribe button if you want to see more content like this, and feel free to check out some of my other videos as well if you haven't already. Have a good one all, and see you later.